Hey, good morning. It's Monday, a little after 8 o'clock, and I'm here in the warehouse just checking out, looking at a couple things that we have going on this week. Or today, not this week, but today. Zach is cautiously poking his head into the boss's office, and he's getting ready to go out on his calls for the day, and he's all set. It looks like we got some new belts in here for some belt drive motors that we have at a fellowship hall for a church. They've got belt drive motors, so we're going to be going through and replacing them. We found one that was bad, slapping the coil.
Alright, I'm at Pinecrest, and you can see where this belt was wrapped around the motor, smacking the coil. That's what that sound was. There's the other piece down there. It looks like the belt snapped. Everything else checks fine. I think your bearing's fine, and thinking your motor's fine as well. So it's just this belt.
Almost surprised it didn't put a hole in the coil. Anyways, so he's going to be replacing those probably this week. And there's a motor. We had went on a call on Friday, it was. That was it wasn't really a callback, but it was a call where he had been out there 2 days prior and the system was not functioning. It needed a new contactor and a new capacitor. And this was the state of the capacitor right here. Now, in situations like this, sometimes the capacitor, when it fails like that, we have, not always, but we have seen where the motor, the condensing fan motor, see pictured, will fail at the same time or shortly after. Not at the same time, but shortly after, if it doesn't fail at the same time. Doesn't always happen, but it can. So you let the homeowner know, and sure enough, that's what happened. The motor failed, and they called back in. He had to go back out, quoted it to him, and they had a conniption about the price and that they had paid a certain amount of money to have it fixed and it still wasn't working, and why is it still not working? And so we negotiated, and I said, okay, here's what we'll do, what's fair to you, and we agreed on negotiated terms, price, whatever. And so Zach's going out today to take care of that. So we've got some materials right here going out for a project on Wednesday. Weather's not looking too great this week for Wednesday at the moment, but we hope to get that job done. Have a compressor right here for a package unit that Brian diagnosed on a property over in Waynesboro. So hoping to get that done sometime here very soon. Right now, the homeowner or the tenant in the home has a window unit to keep them comfortable. That's something we do for our good customers and clients, is we will provide a window AC 5,000 BTU in the event of a major repair or maybe needing to replace a system if we have to wait on parts or equipment or them to make a decision. So we do those kind of things. And it takes a little pressure off of them, a little pressure off of us. Good for both of us. Typically that buys us about a week of time. So what am I doing today? I don't really know. I've got a couple things hanging out there that I want to work on. Sales projects are going to be a big priority today, figuring out the week. Jonathan will be in shortly, and I'm going to get him started on a duct repair project today. And tomorrow, I've got to get him set up for a furnace installation tomorrow. I have a furnace that is going in, sitting right up there where it says gas furnace. That's going to be going in for a client of ours in Sandersville. So I've got plenty of things to do. I have to go to Augusta and pick up my truck from our shop there, my service vehicle, because I've been running around in the courier car the last 2 or 3 days. So I got to go get my service vehicle today. And probably lots of phone calls or a few phone calls, emails. I don't know. I need to work on my sales pricing for Run True. That's a big priority, and I need to finish up on my carrier equipment as well. So I've got my work cut out for me.
So I'm working on a Train XV series. It keeps randomly going into heat mode and doing all that stuff. So what we're gonna do This right here is the new harness for the reversing valve solenoid. Looks like it's got a little capacitor in there, maybe to prevent a slight power surge coming from this board. And then I'm going to take this kit and it's going to reprogram the board, and it's going to go right there, and this wire goes up. That's for the reversing valve, sorry. It goes right here on this data plug, and it had a dummy in there just to keep it clean, but it goes on that. Turn power off to the unit, do all this. This is what we're installing. We already got this new harness in, and it's got a little capacitor. A small power surge going to the LOSD. And there's a little board. The comm light blinks while it's working, and then it goes solid after 12, 13 minutes. And you take it off and back to normal, supposedly.
Next time you deal with the situation where you have you have an issue where you think that the motor might be bad, here's how you protect yourself. You let the mother-in-law know.
I did tell her.
That's not enough.
Okay.
You have to put it on a quote.
Go ahead and quote the fan.
Gotta go ahead and quote that fan motor, because that's your protection. And if you get where you're working in your area, you don't have to get this precise. But if you were working in an area where, let's say you were working for a bunch of lawyers, you know, like white collar people that knew the law, you would want to make them sign off on it, that they did not want this repair, or that they understood that this could be a problem. Because otherwise they'll say, well, you never told me.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
So what her idea was is that I spent $1,000 and my AC still isn't working. And then I'm supposed to spend another $600 and what you didn't fix it? You see the perception? So that's why I finally just said, listen, it's a bad situation for both of us. How about this? You tell me what it's worth to you. And then she finally, $250. It's not enough, but it gets the monkey off my back.
Okay.
So
do that. Even if it's going bad, just go ahead and quote it so they have
yeah,
it.
you quote anything that you think might be an issue. Quote it, add it as a quote, and then they can't say that you didn't tell them, because you can clearly say, well, right here it is.
Yeah.
And you decline that repair.
Okay, I could do that.
That is in Service Nation they talk about this quite a bit. That is a famous thing for people, callbacks that aren't really callbacks.
Yeah, the customers think it is, and go it's not related, or
Correct. A true callback is when you go back because you forgot to put a wire back on correctly, or you really did mess up.
Yeah.
So to protect yourself and your credibility and integrity as a tech, be sure to quote those items.
That makes sense. I could do that.
It's not so much about me, or it's more about you.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. It's a very, very, very good practice.
Yeah, that'll make it a lot easier to explain to people.
All right, so I'm all excited this morning because, I don't know if I'm all excited. But anyways, used to be I had a dedicated installer, and we had a board here, and I haven't used it for a long time. I used it because he wasn't real good with, digital platforms, which we use Trello a lot for managing projects. But at the same time, we needed a whiteboard that just communicated what Trello was saying, right? So I have recreated the board again this morning from memory, and then I look right here in this little tray, and I discover, all covered in bugs and cobwebs, little stickers that I had Kylie make a long time ago. Current projects, pending projects, last updated, and fill-in work, and finally actions. And I've got all of that up here. Upcoming projects. Well, I don't have one of those. Current projects, pending projects. Yeah, see, this is supposed to be pending projects right here. So that'll go right there. Actions will go there. So yes, look at that. So interesting how that works. Anyways, looking forward to get back in the routine of that so that I can communicate with my installers better about what they have going on for the week. And then we're going to start meeting on Thursday afternoon every single week to confirm everything. You should only need 2, yes. I mean, you can load an extra one just in case something would break on you, but I don't think that'll happen. I'm not saying you'd break it. I'm just saying. I would take 20 feet, just in case. How much did you use on that last one? 20?
Well, it was like 16 foot.
Okay, so you'd be right.
It was about 18.
Yeah.
With the 2 elbows. Well,
So-
not 2 elbows.
20 would be enough, I think. All right, so incompetent forklift drivers, not Scotty.
Oh.
I'm talking about Scotty. Check this out. So this is the box that this just came out of. Box is in relatively decent shape, except where Jonathan decided to rip it right there. And a little something at the bottom right there.
So that's where that
But
was
nothing like what you see here.
It ripped.
I mean, this is just like,
Something hit it so hard it ripped on the side.
this is almost a masterpiece. We should just like frame it and like hang it up on the wall and say, dedicated to the poor workforce that we are now experiencing in manufacturing facilities. Because somebody boxed this thing in this box like that so that their supervisor on the line would not chew their butt out. Guaranteed.
What happened was it probably come off the truck.
You put the top O-ring to 0 and wherever it stops at is how many pounds. Then I don't know, I guess you look in the manual of the unit maybe for how many pounds the unit's supposed to have of pressure on the belt.
Okay.
And you go there and look at that, make sure it's right, and if you need to adjust it, adjust it. I was like, that's pretty good happiness right there, so. Like, it ain't going nowhere.
Well, if you figured it out for that unit, you'd probably have it figured out for most because they're not going to vary a whole lot.
No,
Right.
you can tell when it's, it's kind of like that, or, pretty tall.
Yeah, you can tell.
Pretty alright.
I just wanted to give you, even if you would take and like test it with your finger, and then take and push that thing and mark it with a marker, then you would know that from then on, you
What
should
it feels.
instead of just
You know what it also said?
what?
So we recommend to retension the belt after 20 minutes, after 24 hours, and then after 48
Oh,
hours.
weird.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's getting a little extreme.
That was, they're like, because tensioning is always changing, so you always got to adjust.
Well, I believe that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's 3 visits just for.
Well, I wouldn't do
commercial
3
system.
visits on that. No, I wouldn't. That doesn't make good sense.
It's a brand new belt, I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
I didn't get the chance to do the other one though.
No, that's fine as long as you got one of them done. That the one that's the worst.
Yeah, I can definitely tell that brand new belt was a lot tighter than the old one. Instead of pick the motor way up, it's almost to the edge of the bracket or whatever.
Let's see. Did you put that video in company cam of the coil where it damaged it, kind of?
I thought I did. Might
Was
be,
it
was it on
Pinecrest?
Teams?
Well, you had posted to the team chat. I just wondered if you had Pinecrest.
There's a lot going on over there today.
What were they doing?
laying sod and they're cutting the
Oh,
grass.
they were doing it on the.
They cut some holes in the middle of the parking lot for some reason. Maybe the drainage or something.
They were probably yeah. They're doing that cemetery work, I think. Yeah, there's your video right there.
No, it's already in there already.
All right, so what I'm trying to do is be a little more proactive for my videos. Hey, what's up, Ed? What you doing? Trying to be a little more proactive with my videos and tag them for
Like GH type video or something.
yeah. All right, I gotta talk to this guy real quick. Yellow. Hey, I got interrupted by a couple phone calls, and so finally wrapping up here. I can't even remember exactly where I was, but Brian, I think, was working. Yeah, he was working on XV18 train heat pump system today. Man, my hair looks unruly. My goodness, need a haircut. And the issue was the client said that the system would go into heating when it was supposed to be cooling, and this would make it so that the thermostat's set to cooling, and it would slip into heating, but it would stay in cooling at the thermostat, and so that would make the system overheat the upstairs area that it was actually supposed to be conditioning. So because of that, it would get to be almost 100 degrees up there, and this could happen in the middle of the night at times when her kids are sleeping. And she said it's just very dangerous and makes her very nervous. So we talked to the tech support team, did some diagnosis on the unit, found out it needed an update. We've got the software update that was needed, the new version. And so Brian performed that for the first time today. So he's got a little video about that, and glad I talked to him and it went well, and everything seemed to be working properly. So it's good stuff. Zach was able to get by and replace a belt on one of the units that had one fail at a commercial school, and so that was taken care of. So full day on Monday. Looking forward to our team meeting tomorrow morning, 7:30. We'll be doing just a video call like we normally do, and then jumping straight into getting some projects up and rolling for tomorrow. So, see you tomorrow. All right, first time I got a chance to film today. It's obviously Tuesday, and this afternoon it's about 4 o'clock. So today, this morning, it started out the morning. We got Jonathan loaded out for a project down in Sandersville, an old house he's working on. I think there's a picture of that. I should see it. He's working on putting a furnace in there, and that project really went well. He cut out the opening. Furnace was damaged, as you seen yesterday, so we weren't able to put that in. So we're working with the manufacturer to try to get that fixed. Dustin is working at the bakery project. He was doing the walk-in cooler free heater installation. So he's doing a hot water recovery system. See that pictured. And he was finishing piping that in and then putting the system back up online, and that all went well. So he sent me some video showing the sight glass. It's clear, it's working well. Zach is on a call right now, and we've got, looks like, some return duct issues, and the system is freezing up. You know, when you go to a call and you don't, the refrigerants it's freezing up, you think it's refrigerant or restriction or something like that, you always want to check airflow. So he used some of his knowledge that he's learned through air performance class and the tools that he gained, and he was working on that, figuring out that there's an issue on the return side. So hopefully he gets that resolved. And Brian is working was working earlier today on a system that he'd added some refrigerant to last year, had to go back this year and add refrigerant to again. So we're working through the process of doing a follow-up leak search and then quoting them new coil, if that's what they need, once he does a follow-up, and a new air handler indoor unit, and possibly a new system. So that's the process we take when somebody has low refrigerant. We try to do a quick leak search while we're there, figure out if there's a problem right away, If we can't determine where the issue is with refrigerant, then we schedule a follow-up to come back. And once we have the actual diagnosis of the location of the leak, then we take and present the options to repair or replace that system. In this case, it's 21 years old. So that's kind of been my day so far. And yep. So Zach was on a call here, and he was working on a system that was not cooling like it should. It was freezing up, as I mentioned earlier, and he checked refrigerant and maybe even added a little bit of refrigerant, thinking might be a little bit low on refrigerant, but was making no progress. So I told him to check his static pressure. Checked it. The return was pulling 1 inch of static pressure. Now that doesn't mean anything to you if you don't know anything about checking static pressure, but a typical system, the total external static should read about 0.5. This is reading 1 inch on just the return side. So he knew he had a blockage or restriction in the airflow on the return side somewhere. Crawled under the home, not a very easy crawl space to get into. Crawled under the home and found that the ductwork is crushed. See pictured. And that is why the system's not working right. So when you're working on an air conditioning system, you can have a multitude of things that could be a problem. You know, you could deal with electrical, you deal with refrigeration, you deal with some plumbing issues sometime, like condensate issues, and you deal with airflow issues. So that can be your actual fan motors, or it can be ductwork. So never rule out any of those things. And it's important that you have the proper tools to test all this. In this case, we've equipped Zach with the proper tools to test for static pressure. See pictured. Field Piece makes some excellent manometer probes that you put in the ductwork, and they link to your phone on a JobLink platform. Not the only thing to use, but it is a very sophisticated tool. Works extremely well. It's efficient, and it's got a long range. So he used those to determine where his problem was, and then that led him to the actual problem. Now he can present the solution. And you just click that button right there, and you can see right there it's recording.
All right, yeah.
3-4 seconds.
Yeah.
And this thing is like a gimbal. You know, I don't know if you know what a gimbal is, but see how it don't. So you're supposed to be able to get shots that you can move the thing around.
Okay.
And so I can pretty much just say pointed at Luke and know that I'm filming him. But I can turn this thing all the way around so that I can be filming like this.
You
and
can see
it.
what you're filming.
But it takes a little bit more to do it.
Yeah.
All right, so good day. It's Thursday. It's almost 3 o'clock, I think, a little after 3. And so it's the first time I've had a chance to film today. Went to BNI this morning. Had lunch with Brian at Izumi. Discussed a lot of sales items. Working on everything. All right, so it's Thursday afternoon, 5:30. Just got back to the Wren's location here, and I am just looking over the board and seeing what everything that's been completed this week. So I'll get to that in a bit. In the meantime, I had lunch today with Brian, and we discussed a lot of great things about sales, moving them into thinking more down the line of not just doing service repair work, but him and Zach actually performing some sales presentations when the time is right. So when they're dealing with clients that need that. So talk through some of that, and that was great time we spent together. This afternoon, I went from Augusta to Waynesboro, spec'd out a mini split project for church there, and then went to the bakery and looked at what Dustin had gotten done there as well. So got some donuts while I was there. Always great stuff that comes from the bakery there. And then I came back to the office here, and I'm just looking over this board. So this is the board I put together at the beginning of the week for things around the warehouse that need to be done. And this is just the power of when you put things in front of people to do, and don't stand in their way. So Jonathan knocked out getting the plywood down. Cliff moved the trailer over. We got the roundup done before it started raining, which it started raining just this afternoon. We've got the Sarah Miller crossover duct done. We got this gas furnace done. We got this change out completed. And I'm looking at some of the upcoming items that we're going to be working on. So I put this board together right here just to give a snapshot of what's actually going on in our actual computer systems, where we actually manage a lot of the projects in the office and in the warehouse, so that actual installer can walk in the warehouse, he can walk up to the briefing table right here, and he can look up at that board and he can see exactly what's going to happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then if something gets canceled, he can pull from fill-in work, follow-up, and he can also look at what's coming up pending projects-wise. And there's actions right here. So for the wagon barn project, we needed to build a vertical plenum box. We already got that built because we put it on the board, and that's something that's been very difficult for us to keep track of. We'll have everything ready to go, equipment, materials, and then we'll be missing this one special built item, and we're scrambling at the last minute because we didn't prepare. So this is just our method of doing that. So good day today. I had a fun day, and I hope everybody else in our team did as well. It sounded like everyone did. Zach was pulled a new thermostat wire this afternoon on a call that he was on, and he also went by and looked at another school project for me. He looked at, they're lowering the ceiling. He was looking at what we're going to have to do with the actual suspended ceiling lay-ins. In the shop this week, we started painting some lines. So this started yesterday, I think it was. So we're actually painting lines right here. We started with this one just to test it out and see how it works. This thing is still a little bit tacky, but we painted this not 2 days ago. Yesterday morning, I think it was. So we're over 24 hours and this thing is still just a tad bit, not quite tacky, but it's just not quite dry completely. You can see footprints are showing on it. Hopefully those will wash out. And we're going to be painting another line right here so that we keep this walkway clear. And hopefully we'll have another line right here and lines right here. The whole point behind having these lines is to make it so that you've got, clear, nothing goes on, on this line into this area, because this is where we back in trailers and vehicles and things like that. So that's the whole point behind all this. And like right here, we want this to be kept clear so the forklift can get in here and get to equipment and things that are needed easily. This is the furnace that was so terribly damaged the other day that we looked at, and now we have beat it out to where it's going to be manageable, but I just don't know that we're comfortable actually taking and using this furnace on a project, because it's just, I think there's too much risk, too much liability of an issue occurring down the road. So we're still going to end up buying a new furnace, but that one can be possibly repurposed, or we might be able to buy a case for it. Right now they say there's not any cases available. Hopefully that we'll find one. So we just placed an order for refrigerant this week as well. It hasn't come in yet, but we're ordering refrigerant, and I'm still brainstorming about my ideas about what I'm going to do over here. We're going to be buying a new reclaim machine. They're on sale at the moment, and one of our vendors, see pictured, Field Piece, makes a really, really sweet machine. I was working with Dustin a little bit this week, and he used one, and it's just like you turn the knob, it runs, turn it off. It's just so much easier than I think it's Apion ones that we have, see pictured. The Field Piece ones have the digital readout. Apions, you got to open 2 valves. It's just, the Field Piece ones are just the way to go. So we're going to be buying another one of those so we can have Field Piece one here, Apion one here, and the Field Piece one and Apion one at our other location. All right, that's it for me. See you tomorrow. Hey, it's Friday afternoon, 6:42 exactly. So today was just kind of not a relaxing day necessarily, but winding up the week. A couple things that we encountered this morning. The bakery project reached out to me and said that what their cooler wasn't holding temp like they wanted, so it was only 40 degrees instead of like 36. So we dispatched Brian over there from his from his first appointment this morning. He went there and took care of that. Needed to add some refrigerant to the system. It seemed to be working very well once he did that. Jonathan and I went and spec'd out a new project that we're going to be beginning next week. It's a 2-system change out, crawl space. Not a lot of extra room in the crawl space, but it's doable according to what he looked at today. So met with that gentleman on that project, and we're moving forward with that. Next was Zach was working on some maintenance appointments, and he also performed a startup at the commercial school project today. So I think everything went well there. I didn't actually check with him. And Brian also went and did the commissioning on the new system that we installed earlier this week on Wednesday. So we're winding up the week. Already have our schedule laid out for next week for our installation crews, and we're closing the day out, and the week out. So it's been a nice week. A little stressful here and there. Didn't know for sure how things were going to come together when it came to sales projects, but several different projects have committed. The bakery project that we did, they just reached out to me and said they want to commit to a new walk-in cooler system, a second one. So I've been working on that. We're going to be using a low-profile evaporator on that project. So typically we use a high profile that hangs from the ceiling, but they want to use a low profile that it bolts to the ceiling and it gives them extra room. So I was doing some checking on that this afternoon. So I guess that's it for the week, unless I decide to shoot some stuff tomorrow. Take care. All right, it's Saturday morning, about 9:45. I'm out here stacking some pallets. So you can see kind of how they've been stacked. And I'm trying to get a system where we stack the pallets very neatly. And so what I mean by that is, like, you can see how these I've stacked those. They're pretty well perfectly lined up. So you can see exactly what size they are all the time. These come from a lot of the condensers, outdoor units we get from Trane. These are package unit pallets that we get from Trane. And so my goal is to stack same size pallets together, not all just kind of thrown together, but neatly stacked together so that you can easily see which pallets you would have and what size they possibly would be. So I'm working on that quick for a little bit this morning. And yep, we'll go from there. Get these things stacked up. Alright, so I got that done. Need to round up and clean that all up. Doesn't look very nice. But we've got neatly stacked. I've got these two odd size right here, pallets. These two here are broken, not good enough to reuse. I've put these strategically so that we can come in here with the tractor if we choose to and pick up those, move them out of the way, or grab one easily. And then right here we can come in from this side. Once we take these down to the junk pile, we can come in and grab these. So now we can really see what we have and not wonder, do we have what we need? A big thing is when you're stacking pallets is not to just chunk them on top of each other, but just set them down nicely, and you won't knock your stack all wonky. So, need pallets? Come get them.